Coming up on the First Take podcast, the NBA playoffs are all set. We'll break down some key matchups. Plus, Russell Westbrook says the NBA scoring title means absolutely nothing. Do you believe him? And why is Manny Pacquiao's trainer taking more verbal shots at Floyd Mayweather? We'll tell you all that and more coming up on the First Take podcast, which starts right now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Take. Carrie Champion here with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. Thank you for joining us.
Wow, this is a rare pleasure. 4 days in a row in Bristol, Connecticut, across the desk.
Wow. I do my best.
Thank you.
Hey. We appreciate it, obviously.
Thank you.
He's here for a reason, though, because the NBA postseason is upon us. We discuss the matchups and who wins in just a moment. But first, we also take a look at what Russell Westbrook had to say. The Thunder are out, but he does snatch the scoring title. His response, that individual award, is up for debate. Plus, Manny says he wants to teach Floyd a lesson in the ring and then a spiritual one outside of the ring.
That's interesting.
We'll get to that in a moment. But first, Anthony Davis led the way with 31 points and 13 rebounds as the Pelicans reached the playoffs for the first time in 4 years with an impressive 108-103 win over the Spurs, who had won their last 11 games. If the Spurs were able to win, they would have been the 2 seed in the West, but Anthony Davis and the Pelicans could not be denied. Davis on the win last night.
It's a great moment. You know, as you can see over there, all my teammates and coaches jumping for joy. I mean, we've been through a lot of, adversity, a lot of ups and downs, and we just still stuck together, and, we're just happy that we're in.
All right, big picture, Stephen A. Talk about the matchups. What does this mean for the Spurs?
I'm concerned about the Spurs. I think they may have cost themselves another NBA championship because I think having to go on the road throughout the Western Conference, it would be one thing if you had 1 or 2 home series in your favor, and then you have to go on the road for the Western Conference Finals. But to go in there every single round, to have to be on the road, you have to believe at some point in time it's going to catch up to them. Obviously, this is a team that's tried and proven. They're the reigning, defending NBA champions. They are to be respected, and they can go on the road better, more so than anyone. They're the one team who could pull this off, who could go on the road and beat everybody. I just believe that it's a bit too much. The calf injury to Thiago Splitter, Danny Green playing 18 minutes last night and not shooting and not scoring a point makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. You got to get Splitter back because he's your defensive anchor. You understand that, and you understand they know how to play, and they had won 11 straight up until losing last night. I got the amount of points that they would score, right? I said they'd score 103, but New Orleans scoring 108. Anthony Davis is big time, and it's just that simple. But in the end, I think to answer the question directly, I think the Spurs may have cost themselves a trip to the NBA Finals simply because of not having home court advantage in any series. That's just the way I feel. That's what I walked away thinking about the Spurs last night.
So, ding dong, the witch is dead, right? Spurs are dead?
I wouldn't say they're dead. I think they could still go to the Western Conference Final.
Okay.
I'm just saying that.
But I think you just said they are not making it back to the NBA Finals.
I don't think they're winning the championship.
Okay.
I don't think they're winning the championship. I don't know what round they're going to lose in, but I hate going against them because I'm always wrong when I go against them. Always wrong when I go against them. But this is just one of those things where I just think that it's a bit too much for them to overcome.
I must point out, I do know my San Antonio Spurs because I did tell you yesterday, I sat right here and said, I don't think they can win this game. And yet, I had no idea that they were going to trail by 23 points in the first half.
That's crazy.
I had no idea they were going to play the most dead-headed, dead-legged first half of the whole sorry, sad trail of a year. And you know how many times I went a little crazy about how bad they were during the year. And yet I didn't see this coming to where they allowed the most points in the first half they have allowed all year. 63 points at halftime for the Pelicans, who shot 61% in the first half.
68% in the first quarter.
Yeah. Okay, but for the half, I'm like, I kept thinking, second quarter, maybe they'll start making a game. No, they're not making a game of it. And it was blow by after blow by after blow by. This is the best defensive team in basketball over the last 6 weeks. It was open three after open three after open three. And it was, to your point, Danny Green, a 42% three-point shooter, who in attempts leads this team by almost 200 attempts. He shot 200 more threes than anybody on the floor last night, and he got zero shots, zero attempts, zero threes.
Not zero threes. He did not attempt a shot.
And I'm screaming at my TV.
What?
Danny Green, where are you? Somebody throw him the basketball. Somebody let him shoot 1 3. Because some nights they go as Danny Green goes. I remind you, 2 finals ago, we were actually there. He set the finals record for making three-point shots, even though he cratered in Game 6, but we won't go there. But he made 27 threes in the NBA Finals to set the record. Now, what happened? Okay, here's my theory. And I brought this up yesterday, so I'm not being a hypocrite about this. Did I not tell you yesterday? I thought this team needed a challenge. I think this team didn't love the idea of being the 2 seed. That's what you can laugh all you want, but I said it yesterday, so I'm not being a hypocrite. I think this team, as the defending champ, thought they needed to do it the harder way. And plus, this is just me, I think they feared the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks nearly beat them last year in the first round. They won 7 games. Remember that? Now, they had Vince Carter. It was a little different team. Didn't have Rondo. But I think they feared Dallas. It's their arch rival. Dallas always has their number. I think they were content last night. You brought up Monty Williams and the whole connection to Pop. It's his assistant. And I'm not saying they threw the game.
Of course not.
I just think they came out a little lackluster. Well, it was clear the other team was going to play desperate at home to make the playoffs. And after a half, it's like, and they did make their little run in the second half, but I never truly thought in my heart of hearts that they were going to get back in that basketball game. But I'm here to tell you right now, I think my San Antonio Spurs have the Western Conference right where they want it.
Wow.
I think they love being the 6th seed, and I am not for 1 second backing off my pick. The Spurs are going to win the West on the road. You can throw back at me. This year they're 22-19 on the road. Last year 30-11. You can throw back at me Thiago, and I'm scared to death about that, but they say he's nearing.
Yeah, they're saying he's like the last 5 games. They're saying he's nearing.
Maybe
he's
back.
Getting there. He should be all right.
It's a back injury that leads to a calf problem.
Well, let's throw this caveat out there. Are you willing to say what you're saying regardless of the status of Splitter, or you're assuming that Splitter will be back?
I'm banking that he's going to play some minutes against the Los Angeles Clippers. He's going to ease back into the fray starting in Game 1 Sunday night at the Clippers. I think that'll be enough time for him to get some minutes, but he's going to have to play his way back into condition, and then it's going to have to hold up whatever this back/calf injury is. But the silver lining for me last night, Patty Mills, welcome back. Thank you very much. He won the Houston game last Friday night, and he nearly shot them back into this game last night. So I'm saying I'm good to go. I still like my team. I still like their mentality. I still think they needed the ultimate challenge. And this is to win 3 series on the road? Wouldn't that be the ultimate challenge?
Let me make sure you understand where I'm coming from.
All right.
The San Antonio Spurs should be the favorites in the West, because of how they've been playing and because of their experience, and they're tried and tested.
Yep.
What I'm saying is that by losing the number 2 seed and having to go on the road, all right, you put an immense amount of pressure on yourself. You couple that with questionable health issues.
Yep.
That's where they lose me. I'm not saying they'll lose the first round, second round, or whatever. I'm saying somewhere along the line, because of what it's going to demand. Mentally is a different story, because they got that on lockdown. They can handle that.
Yep.
But physically, along with the physical, because everybody that goes up against San Antonio is going to be desperate, because coming into your house is the reigning, defending NBA champion.
I got you.
So because of it, this is a franchise that hasn't won back-to-back NBA Finals.
Never.
They usually win, and then they lose, and then they win, and they lose. Okay. This is what I'm saying.
It's another challenge.
That is another challenge. That's what I'm looking at. That's what has me a bit apprehensive. So I'll wait and see. I'm not picking them to lose the first round. I can promise you that.
You're not.
I'm not picking them.
That's may lead to our next question.
All of this stuff where we're going, we're going to talk about it. But in the end, I'm telling you right now, when I look at the San Antonio Spurs, I believe that losing last night's game is going to catch up to them at some point. I just don't know when yet.
All right, that's
I have
fine.
to see them play in the postseason.
Okay, 2 other quick points. I believe in their heart of hearts, and now I'm just playing armchair psychologist here, but I do know this team pretty well. I think in their heart of hearts, they thought they didn't deserve the 2 seed. And it was a little bit of a joke to me that they had even a prayer of winning that game and getting it. Doc Rivers said yesterday that he wants to change the seeding, take away these division titles that elevate you. Because the Clippers were about to lose the 2 seed or the 3 seed, whichever one, they're going to fall to, because of a division title the Spurs could have won that would vault them to the 2 seed, right?
Right.
Okay. Not fair. I don't think the Spurs really thought it was fair. Just not very long ago, they lost to your New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden.
Tired.
Okay? Well, whatever. And their rodeo road trip was just a nightmare. It was a disaster.
Yeah.
So they blew it way back when. And I think they didn't think they really deserved it, that they thought it was a joke. So now they're going to do it for real. They're going to do it the hard way. They're going to do it the right way.
Okay.
And if they can win 3 playoff series to get back to the finals and play LeBron again, because I think LeBron's going to be there, bully for them.
Okay, Spurs, first defending champions to enter the playoffs as a 6th seed since the 94.
Real quick, before you change subjects.
Yeah.
Let me just add to your point about Anthony Davis and Tyreek Evans. Can I say that this team is no joke? It's boys to men right now. I thought Anthony Davis became a man last night. That was big time performance.
I'm telling you,
big time.
You said that he was
3 years max. Anthony Davis will be the best player in the world.
And
this dude is on another
He's getting
level.
close. He's getting close. And now he's making clutch shots last night.
3 years from now, he'll be the best player in the world.
In the world.
Better than LeBron.
In the world. Because LeBron will be older. See what I'm saying? Anthony Davis, understand, Kerry, Anthony Davis is a legit 6'10", 6'11". Did you see, like, for example, him pushing the ball up on the break with a breakaway dunk? It was like a guard.
It's unfair.
It was like a guard.
It's unfair.
This dude has a handle. He can pull up. He has a mid-range game.
He's shooting 20-footers.
He can shoot 20-footers. He can shoot 15-footers. He can shoot spot up or off the dribble. He can take it to the hole. He can handle the ball. And on top of it all, he can defend any frontline player and literally block shots. Anthony Davis will be the best player in the world.
Okay, so do you remember when he was on our show doing All-Star?
No.
And he was saying, I am the MVP, I am the best player.
Well, he wasn't at the time.
He wasn't, but he was saying if you believed it, you did. You rolled your eyes and you was like, I'm sorry.
I said he will be. And he will be. Anthony Davis, in the next 3 years, possibly sooner, will be the best player in the world.
Okay, I got to say, if I'm Golden State, I'm not sleeping easy over this upcoming first-round series, because remember, at New Orleans the other night, they beat Golden State. It went to the wire, and Steph had a 3 that was controversial that lipped out, but again, they beat them for the first time this year. So, and Anthony Davis is very open about we can beat anybody, including these guys in the playoffs.
I'm not sleeping on New Orleans, especially because of Anthony Davis. What I would tell you about Golden State, however, is whereas an Anthony Davis will abuse, for example, an Andrew Bogut, okay? The fact is Bogut will probably be more on a sheet than he would be on Anthony Davis. So you've got Anthony Davis is going to get his because he's Anthony Davis. But you've got a whole bunch of long guys on Golden State capable of defending. If New Orleans is going to make that even a series, the Tyreek Evans, the Drew Holidays of the world, and others will have to step up. Eric Gordon is going to be a key too.
Stephen A says Anthony Davis, best player in the world in 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Well, I mean,
that's huge.
That seems like a long time from now.
I
was
think
thinking
sooner.
it's on us right now.
I'm just saying that's a given in that time period. It might be sooner.
All right, so Spurs, the first defending champions to enter the playoffs as a 6th seed since the 94-95. Rockets did it, Skip, but the Rockets also won that year. You never remember. The West all set, folks. Take a look at the playoff matchups of the defending champions facing the Clippers for the first time since the Spurs swept the Clippers in the 2012 conference semifinals. Since March 18th, the Clippers and Spurs have gone a combined 27-3. The Clippers have the best record over this stretch, while the Spurs are tied with the 67-win Warriors for the second best record over this time. The Power Index gives the Spurs a 60% chance to win this series, Stephen A. We're talking about your Clippers. You picked them to win the West. Who wins the series?
Well, that pick has just been rescinded. The fact is that happened a long time ago when we watched the Clippers struggle the way that they struggled. Jamal Crawford is back. That's a very, very big deal. But I can't. This is the Clippers' kryptonite. Not Memphis, not Golden State, even though Golden State, they should be favored in the series if they favor the Clippers. But this is the Clippers' kryptonite because the Clippers have two issues. They do have defensive lapses, even though they've improved upon that recently. And free throws are a problem with them because you have DeAndre Jordan on your squad. So you have somebody for Popovich to employ the hack-a-shack philosophy against, and he will unquestionably do it. He did it last night with a Sheik, midway through the fourth quarter. Okay? He will definitely employ that.
By the way, he got a Sheik out of the game, too.
That's right.
They had no choice.
They had no choice.
Yeah.
So you got to do that with a guy. If you're going to do that with a Sheik, you're definitely going to do that with a guy shooting 39% from the free throw line and DeAndre Jordan. And that's why I can't pick the Clippers to win this series. Boy, do I hope I'm wrong, because I would love for the Clippers to go to the finals. I really, really would, for various reasons. But I got to tell you, in all objectivity, I can't pick them to win this series because you're going up against a champion who's been there, who's done that, and more importantly, who knows how to play the game of basketball. They're just too poised. And when I look at DeAndre Jordan, a guy I believe could easily be the best big man in the game if he could simply hit free throws. He can't do it. He's formidable defensively. He's going to get his rebounds, but he doesn't give you a post-game offensively, and he doesn't give you free throw shooting. Spencer Hawes, that's the reason I picked the Clippers to come out of the West in preseason, because Spencer Hawes was supposed to get there. He was supposed to give you something where he can step away from the basket, be a perimeter threat, thereby pulling big men away from the basket, giving CP3 room to operate. Well, now that's not happening, and that's a problem.
By the way, he averaged 6 points a game in 18 minutes a game.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So he just hasn't lived up to it, and so they know it. It can be very interesting. CP3 is going to have to step up. The key also is Blake Griffin. We're always talking about DeAndre Jordan. Blake Griffin's got to step up and play like a superstar in order for the Clippers to win the series. If I have to bet my money, I have to go with San Antonio to win this series in 6 games.
In 6.
I have to do it because I can't sit there and give the Clippers an edge when I know Popovich is going to either send Jordan to the free throw line or get him out of the game because you got to send him to the free throw line. I can't do it. Can't do it.
Okay. You mentioned his name.
Oh, boy.
And I'm bringing him back up because I think this is a career-defining series for CP3. I think it begins and ends with him and how he performs against a guy who has been his nemesis in the past, and Tony Parker. That's the matchup to me of this series, and I get all your hack at DeAndre stuff and all that. But the Clippers have had a very good year despite Hawes' lack of production. And Chris Paul has had a very good year. But now he will turn 30 years of age in May. He has never been out or beyond the second round of the playoffs. So you get on me, I nicknamed him last year CP0 because not only does he have 0 rings, as in 0 hardware, he doesn't even have a consolation certificate. He hasn't even been to the conference final one time where you say, well, at least I got to. No, you didn't get to the conference final. Was this a bad break for him to draw Tony Parker and company in the first round? You could argue. You could argue it's a good break because maybe this is it. Maybe this is your time, Chris Paul, to rise and shine for the first big time in your life, where it's your time and your turn. For the first time in his career, he played all 82 games. So I'm assuming he's very healthy right now, both physically and mentally. He led the league in assists again. He ranks 3rd all-time in assists, which is pretty great. He ranks 2nd all-time in assist-to-turnover ratio. That is spectacular. These are big-time, as you know. These are Hall of Fame numbers I'm giving you. But I don't have anything to show for him beyond the second round of the playoffs. So I look back at last year. What happened in round 1? They beat this Golden State team. Now, it had a different coach. I'm not going there, but I'm just saying. They beat Golden State despite the distractions of their owner and the race issue, right? They beat them with exactly the same starting lineup the Clippers have right now. The starting lineup did not change. You can talk about depth or lack thereof, but nothing changed in the starting lineup. They beat them in 7 games, the Golden State Warriors. So I could say that right now you're on a collision course with a team that you did beat last year in the playoffs. Is that fair? I mean, okay. And yet, what happened in round 2, right on schedule, Game 5 at Oklahoma City, do you remember this one? Mm-hmm. I think it still sticks in the craw of CP3 and his teammates because they were up in that game 11 at Oklahoma City with 4 minutes to go. They were up 7 with 49 seconds to go. In the last 13 seconds of that Game 5 at Oklahoma City, the turnaround turning point game of that series, Chris Paul went turnover, foul Russell Westbrook shooting a 3, and he made all 3 free throws, and another turnover at the end of the game. Well, that's, you self-destructed. That's Chris Paul we are talking about, and it's a stain on your legacy because they went right home and lost Game 6, and they were out. Okay? Now it's time to rise and shine against a Tony Parker who I've always thought had a little edge over Chris Paul. And now let me throw one last thing at you. I was told yesterday, Tony Parker is very upset with me. And I get it, because I've been very hard on him this year. So I'm going to challenge him and Chris Paul. This is you two guys. It's mano a mano, night after night. Tony Parker, prove me wrong. I think you've been mostly awful this year, although you did have a good first half last night. I give you that. But Tony, prove me wrong. Shut me up. You say I no longer supported you this year the way I have. I have raved about Tony Parker in the past. Have I not? Mm-hmm. On opening night this year when they beat the Dallas Mavericks, I came in and I said he was the best point guard in basketball, and you agreed with me on that night. Remember? Yeah. That was the big thing. Charles Barkley had said it on TNT the night before. Okay, Tony, prove me wrong. That I'm waiting to see what you'll do, because now you've got the matchup of the lifetime. This is you versus Chris Paul, first round of the playoffs, to see who survives.
You and I disagree. And here's where we disagree, and we continue to part ways on this. You are absolutely right with what you pointed out about CP3 against Oklahoma City in that Game 5, those last 4.5 minutes. There's no question about it. That was disastrous. We all know that. And that can't happen. And if that does happen, then you're right. That's on CP3. My problem with you is that if CP3 drops 35 and has 17 assists and has limited turnovers and he does what he's supposed to do, you will still point the finger at him in terms of what he didn't get done. And what I am saying to you is that when you are literally a quintessential prototypical point guard, that is not your job. That is not your responsibility. Now, in fairness to you, Isaiah Thomas would agree with you more than he would agree with me, because he has. But here's where Isaiah Thomas and I part ways on that. Isaiah Thomas was a bad, bad boy. But guess what Chuck Daly and those boys in Detroit had to do? They had to get the Vinnie Microwave Johnson. They had to get the Joe Dumars. They had to get the Bill Lambiers, the Rick Mahorns, the John Sallies, the Adrian Dantleys, and then after that, the Mark Aguirres. They had a crew of dudes.
But they had one big star.
But I understand that. But what I'm saying to you is the one big star couldn't get over the hump because he was going against elite teams in the Eastern Conference with devoid of help. Why? Because the same responsibility that is attached to a Michael Jordan, 6'6", a LeBron James, 6'8", a Kobe Bryant, 6'6", scoring machines and stuff like that. When you are the quintessential, prototypical, minuscule, relatively minuscule point guard, there's a different standard that is applied to you. Chris Paul, to be kind, is 6 feet tall. He is literally not a scorer who plays point guard. He is a literal point guard who happens to be able to score. This is what you are, an orchestrator. You are a floor general. So to me, I can't put the onus on him to such a degree that I'm letting off Blake Griffin. You averaging 21 and 7. You had the staph infection. That's over and done with. Blake Griffin at one time early in the season we were talking about as an MVP candidate. Where are you? He's got to show up too. Because if Blake Griffin plays like the star he's supposed to be. Last time I checked, he's getting big dollars.
Yep.
He's a box office attraction. He's a guy that has all the requisite skills. I can't look at a CP3. I got to look at him and say, yo, you got to play. You got to do your job. But if CP3 comes out there and balls, but Blake Griffin or DeAndre Jordan and the cats don't show up, I can't point the finger at him like that, Skip. I could do that with teams with a guy like LeBron who's a freak of nature, with a Jordan who's a freak of nature, with a Kevin Durant who's a freak of nature. I can sit there and look at you and hold you accountable because you have the ability to literally take a game into your own hands as an individual. A miniature point guard like Chris Paul is devoid of that capability in the land of giants. He can have the night like that, but to carry it like that, nah, you can't ask him to do that.
Did Allen Iverson carry it?
No. Allen Iverson was carrying, but Allen Iverson was a scoring machine.
Sure.
I said point guard who happens to know how to score, not a scorer who's labeled a point guard. Allen Iverson, he was great. What happened when he ran into Kobe and Shaq? You understand? Now, I watched him go. I watched him go through Vince Carter in Toronto with an epic series. That's the greatest moments of my career. Sitting courtside watching these boys go at it. Then the Eastern Conference Finals, you went up against Ray Allen, Big Dog, and my man Sam Cassell, okay, who's on the Clippers bench, who's in CP's ear, who's going to be a head coach someday, and because he's going to be great, too. I watched Allen Iverson go through that. Well, what did I say? Had the Philadelphia people in the city of Philadelphia calling and inquiring to get me fired. Because they said, what's Stephen A? So, all right, what's the Sixers' chances of winning this series? And I said, nothing. Absolutely zero. They're like, why? I said, Shaq, and more Shaq. Shaq was in his prime. And then you had Kobe. Kobe was the sidekick at the time. This is Kobe we talking about here. What you gonna do? You can't ask CP3 to deal with that.
Okay, I'm not going to give him a pass this time.
I'm not giving him a pass.
All right. They played 4 times this year, the Spurs and the Clippers. The Spurs won the first 2, one at L.A. early on November 10th. They lost the last 2. One at San Antonio, one at the Clippers. In the last 3 games, Chris Paul against my Spurs scored 25, 20, and 22. And in the last game at the Clippers won 119 to 115 by the home team. Chris Paul in the 22-point game hit a huge jumper with 1:10 left, and then he hit one with 8 seconds left to ice the game, really to win the game. So he is capable of making big shots in big moments. So that's what I hold him accountable. I want to see that. But I want to see him, if it's a close game, take it over.
And I'm saying to you, that's fair. Tell me that the Clippers are in a position to do it and that the ball is in CP's hands. I understand that. What I'm saying to you is don't come to me with preconceived notions about what Chris Paul is supposed to do, devoid of pointing out what Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and those cats are supposed to do. Those are the guys. Tim Duncan is on the front line. What you going to do about that, Blake Griffin? Tim Duncan is on the front line. What you going to do that about? DeAndre Jordan is averaging 15 rebounds a game and nearly 3 blocks. What you going to do against Tim Duncan?
April 25th, Tim Duncan turns 39 years of age. Just for the record, 39 years of age. And speaking of numbers, I am picking my Spurs in 7 games in this series. I say they will win Game 7 at the Clippers. That's what I'm predicting.
Stephen A says they'll win in 6.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's going to be epic.
You do you really?
Epic.
Because you want to be in Southern California.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So wait, if you
it's not just about residents. It's about I'm also rooting for CP3.
Okay.
Well,
I want him to advance deep. I want him in the conference finals or possibly an NBA finals. I want that bad for him because I think he deserves it.
I'm rooting for Tony Parker. Thank you.
Russell Westbrook had 37 points in the Thunder's 138-113 win over the Timberwolves, but it wasn't enough to push the Thunder into the postseason. Westbrook finishes as the NBA's leading scorer, averaging 28 points per game. It is just the 10th time in NBA history that the league's leading scorer failed to make the playoffs.
What's the scoring title mean to you?
Doesn't mean nothing. Good job. Hooray. I'm at home. Watching other teams play. Doesn't mean nothing.
Westbrook essentially saying he doesn't care about that individual award. Skip Bayless, are you buying it?
I am not buying it, but I will preface my remarks by admitting right off the top, we're talking about what's in a man's heart here, and I don't know exactly what's in Russell Westbrook's heart. So this is just my opinion, having closely observed Russell for all these years in Oklahoma City. I certainly believe he plays with a rage to win basketball games, a rage unlike any I think I have ever seen. I give you that. But I also believe he cares as much about personal achievement, because this young man has a huge ego. You have to have a big ego to do what he does. He has a tunnel-visioned ego, the likes of which I haven't seen in a while. I believe he badly wanted to be the All-Star Game MVP, and he was. I believe he became enamored of, if not obsessed with, triple doubles. He had 11 this year, the most since Jason Kidd had, 13 back in, 05, 06? Very impressive. But even though Russell denied it, do you remember the Friday night in Oklahoma City when he quibbled with the scorer's table about a potential 10th rebound he did not get?
Yeah, he denied it.
Yeah, he denied it, but it sure looked to me like, from what I saw and what I heard from people who were at the game, that he was at least sort of asking, are you sure I didn't get that 10th rebound? So that's proof positive to me. He certainly wanted the triple-double. I believe that Russell Westbrook has the run of that franchise right now. He's got the greenest light in all of pro basketball. Obviously, Scott Brooks, is it fair to say, is on the hottest seat of coaches now?
He shouldn't be.
But he is.
But he may be.
I think he might be. Okay, that's fair. He may be. I don't believe he gets to coach much with Russell Westbrook. I think Sam Presti loves Russell Westbrook, maybe to a fault, and Russell pretty much has his head on the court. He calls his own plays, he does whatever he wants to do, and that's fine, because most nights he backs it up. But I don't for a second believe this scoring title didn't mean anything to him, and I'm going to stick on what I said that night after 43 shots were taken by Russell Westbrook at Indiana, a game they really needed, a game I thought I know they could have. I thought they should have won the game, and Russell turned his teammates into fourth-quarter bystanders. You cannot win that game that way. I know mostly he's just saying, I've got to do this myself, because he knows he's a much better option than the four people on the court around him. But you have to learn to use those four, because they're pretty quality four. When I'm talking about Cantor and Morrow and whoever else is on the court, they're good enough. They can make some big shots too. And he took 43, and they lose by 8. And that was a turning point for them. And as you know, down the stretch, they were at 41-30 at one point, and it looked like they were a lock to make the playoffs. And then they went on a jag where they lost 7 of 9. And I thought Russell just got too selfish. I'm sorry. So you can't tell me that scoring title didn't mean a thing to him. I do think it meant something, but that's not to say that winning doesn't mean anything to him either.
Well, that's the whole point. And I agree with you. I don't believe him when he says it meant nothing to him. But I think that's in the short term, as the playoffs continue to go on, and he gets over the fact that they didn't make the playoffs. Yep. He'll care about it a little bit more.
Sure.
It's a tremendous accomplishment. You average 28 points per game. You put the nation on the map, the basketball world on the map, that you are indeed an elite player. Mm-hmm. The likes of potentially top 5. There's no question that that's something that you're going to be prideful of. We got to make sure that we don't come across as individuals that are knocking individuals for having that ego, that pride, okay? Because that's what stirs and really boils their competitive fervor, and that's what we want from them. I think that Russell Westbrook was sincere last night is that it didn't mean a damn thing to him at that moment. Because at that moment, you learn that you're not making the playoffs, that you don't get to compete in the postseason and start off the new season the way that you want to. This is a guy that's been to an NBA Finals. This is a guy that's been to several conference finals. I mean, he's accustomed to playing in the postseason. And here he is right now, sitting on the sidelines at home watching the playoffs with the rest of everybody else. Matter of fact, I dare venture to say that he cared about significantly more about the playoffs than the scoring title because of that ego, because Kevin Durant wasn't there and Serge Ibaka wasn't there. And had he pulled this off, that would have been him getting this team to the playoffs on his back. Obviously, that meant a great deal to him as well. So I can understand why he would say it didn't mean a damn thing to him, because in that moment, it doesn't. In the weeks and months to follow, it will matter. Next season, when Kevin Durant comes back and he's alongside the scoring champion, it will matter. But in that moment, to ask him that question in the immediate aftermath of finding out that they didn't make the playoffs, I do believe him when he says it didn't mean anything to him, because I think at that moment it did not.
I'm with you. So bottom line, my Spurs shockingly eliminated the Thunder last year in Game 6 in Oklahoma City, and they shockingly eliminated them again this time, because I think the Thunder thought the Spurs were going to win that game last night.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. Freddie Roach heard that Floyd was 2+ hours late for his media workout, and, well, he was upset. This is what he said. For once, Mayweather wasn't able to handpick his opponent. He was forced to take this fight by Manny, the media, and the fans. Mayweather may have been the A side during the negotiations, but once he signed the contract, he became the B side. Mayweather is a different A side. Now, you can guess what that A stands for. He was late for the media workout, leaving major media outlets scheduled to go live with dead air. How selfish is that? It doesn't take a lot to figure out why everyone is rooting for Manny. Mayweather may be 2 victories shy of tying Rocky Marciano's record, but I can assure you, Mayweather's party will end on May 2nd, and Marciano's record will remain just that, the record. And Mayweather will forever be known as Mr. 47-1. Freddie Roach, extremely talkative leading up to this fight. Skip, what's this latest jab about?
By the way, this is a first take first. I brought my phone out here so
waiting.
I can be like Stephen A.
Wait a second.
Except I don't have 2 phones. I only have one.
I was like, this breaking news. You must be waiting for something. You wouldn't have it out if
I
you
had to get the rest of the Freddie Roach quote out of my email, so I thought, I'm going to be Stephen A. Smith.
Okay. And you're going to
Are you impressed?
And type.
You're all right.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
In all my years of covering sports, not just boxing, any sport, I have never seen anything like this. This has become a relentless, almost daily attack of Freddie Roach and sometimes Pacquiao on Floyd Mayweather Jr. and his father and his uncle and his crew. These quotes went on, and sometimes they're funny quotes, and sometimes they're dead serious quotes. Sometimes they're second level quotes, and some of these got second level. Mm-hmm. But some of the quotes that I'll get in these releases I get, they'll be like lame joke quotes, because Floyd's been swimming to stay in shape. Have you read that? Or I don't know if you heard that from Floyd, but. So
good idea on this one.
So Freddie Roach, just to preserve your joints and all, it's a great way to keep your cardio up. Mm-hmm. But Freddie Roach has been calling him Flipper off the old TV show. I don't know, this is way before your time. I remember before your time. Flipper. Okay, so he's nicknamed Floyd Flipper. Flipper's doing this and a lot of swimming jokes. But then this was a salvo yesterday. What is going on here to me is that Freddie Roach and Manny Pacquiao want Floyd to know they have zero fear of him, and that they are coming for him unlike any opponent has ever come for him in his career, amateur or pro. They want him to know that they are going to attack, and that clearly they are attempting to goad him into attacking back, to engaging with them, which is a pretty transparent strategy to me that probably will not work. But maybe they're playing spy versus spy. Maybe they're trying to talk him into not attacking. Maybe who knows what's going on. But they are playing psychological warfare with a guy who often wins that game against his opponent. So now you're reaching out. Okay, the whole thing about he was late. He was very late for that. I was watching or trying to keep up with it, and I kept waiting and waiting. I'd flip off to something. I'd do this. I'd do this. I'd watch the game for a while, and I'd look back, and he still wasn't there. I think he was 3.5 hours later than he was supposed to arrive at his gym in Las Vegas.
They said 2.
2. I was watching my watch, and from what the initial arrival time, I think it was 3.
Yeah,
the original one that they put out in the press release, I think he was 3.5 hours, but whatever. Maybe it's 2 hours. Even 2 hours, there were a lot of guys standing around just making conversation on my, just babbling, just trying to fill dead air, as Freddie Roach says. So that's number one, and obviously that wasn't classy. But is it classy for the opposing trainer to point that out? Probably not. But again, it's relentless attack. And then the first part of that quote I wanted to read, you read the rest of the body of the quote. But Freddie Roach is saying a lot of things that I've been saying on this show for months. But I'm one thing. Freddie Roach is his trainer. And Freddie said yesterday, Floyd did not want this fight, which I've been saying to you for months. He can pretend it was his strategy to build up the fight's value, but that is not true. That's a strong accusation. It's what I've been saying. They're saying Floyd has been afraid of Manny Pacquiao for 5 long years. So they're voicing what I'm voicing. I'm just some guy sitting here with Stephen A. Smith debating about this. That's my opinion. That's my view. It's an informed view because I've spent a lot of time talking to Freddie Roach and others in the camp. But they are expressing it on a daily basis publicly in a way I've never seen any opponent or opponent's trainer or coach express before a big clash. This is a huge fight. This is how good is this fight? Is it the best thing since
last quarter century?
Yeah, last quarter century. So this strategy is shocking to me, but I must admit I'm good with it. I like it. I'm not saying it's the classiest strategy, but I think they are working on Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s mind, and I believe they are succeeding.
If they were working on Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s mind and that was their purpose, Skip, I don't have a problem with it. We're not going to go the classy route because it's very little class usually in boxing. You're going after an opponent and you think that you think that you got a psychological or can gain a psychological advantage on somebody, you're going to do that. I think the thing that really bothers me is that Freddie Roach, it's a lot of low blows that he's throwing.
A lot.
Floyd, I have no problem with anything that he's doing as it pertains to boxing. It's the other stuff that, he's trying to literally, there are people who obviously despise Floyd Mayweather Jr. And we know the reasons why, the reports, the things that have been said, the way he flosses in terms of his wealth, his riches, his fame, etc., etc. We get all of that. But at the same time, a guy like Freddie Roach, it's a double whammy for me, and it's almost unfair, and here's why. Well, if you're Manny Pacquiao, you're bringing up the spiritual aspect and what have you. Well, how are you supposed to come back from that? If you're Freddie Roach, he's suffering from Parkinson's. How are you supposed to come back at him? So it's almost like you're talking about a fight, but you're not giving a fair fight in this realm. Because on one hand, they come at Floyd in such a way where if Floyd came back at them, it's like attacking God himself. So he's not going to do that. And then you got Freddie Roach, and he's got Parkinson's, and you got some people that might want to slap him upside his head. Not advocating that, of course, but that's how they feel. But you can't do that either because he's suffering from Parkinson's. So whatever way you slice it, these blows that he continues to be throwing about Floyd that veer away from the sport of boxing. Talk about the kind of person he is. Well, I've had people talk to me about what kind of guy Manny Pacquiao is. I like Manny Pacquiao, but you love Manny Pacquiao. But there are people that talk about him outside of the ring and how there were things that were questionable about him. I've never once heard...
Now or in the past?
Well, again, they're saying that in the past is what led to now. You see what I'm saying? So that what I'm saying to you is that, but Floyd never brings it up. Never brings it up. Never talks about it. I've heard from other people say that. You go to Floyd with that? No, man. I ain't going there. That's his business. I'm going to get him in the ring. That's the whole point. All I'm trying to say to you is that it gets to a point in time where the disdain and the hatred for Floyd Mayweather is so extreme that it gives the impression that anything goes. And I'm saying that's not right. I sit there, Floyd Mayweather, there's no excuse to be showing up 2-3 hours late. Man, show some damn class. And I'm rooting for him to win this fight. I think he's going to do it. But damn it, show some class, show up on time or something close on time. Nobody's supporting him on that. Be professional, be classy when it comes to dealing with the very people that you're looking to assist you in marketing this fight. It's just a professional thing to do. He should have been there early. There's no question about that. We all know the other stuff that's been documented with him and what have you. We get all of that. My point is that there's also a Floyd Mayweather that is the best fighter pound for pound in the world, that has obtained more riches than any boxer in history, in a sport where there is no representation for the fighters. There's no players associated, the Players Association, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. Boxers don't have that. You've had boxers go up on Capitol Hill begging legislators to give them assistance when it comes to the sport, so they're not at the mercy of the promoters. And by the way, you bring up his crew. Nobody has anything to say about Leonard Ellaby. Leonard Ellaby is a consummate professional. People who talk about him talk about he's a hard-driving negotiator. Same thing with Al Heyman. But they are beating the system of boxing at its own game, and they're not cutting corners to do it. Legitimately, they've stepped up to the plate. They're informed, they're intellectual, they're studied and learned. They are handling their business, and they all happen to be black men doing it. I'm sorry. I'm going to be a guy that looks at Floyd Mayweather, that looks at Leonard Ellaby, that looks at Al Heyman and say, you know something? This kind of heat being aimed in their direction, you understand? Maybe you should be respecting. I'm not talking about you, Skip.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Freddie Roaches of the world and others, because they are doing what Freddie Roach and others couldn't do. They're calling their own shots. They are handling business, and they're making more money than these guys ever thought they could make or believe these guys deserve. They are doing it. Respect their game, because they have elevated it, and that's my point.
Okay, for the record, I've never said one word about Leonard Ellaby. I know.
I get it.
I get it. Because he's brilliant. Yes. They're brilliant. Everything you just said is dead on. They are beating the system here.
At their own game.
I thought it was unbeatable. Okay, back to this, though. You're not suggesting that the real good team here is Floyd's team.
I'm saying, well, first of all, I do believe the team is Floyd's team.
Like they're not getting enough credit, you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is that they're trying to change the narrative, and they're coming after him in a way where it's not fair, because he can't come back from that. When Manny sits here and comes on First Take and talk about how God will deliver him into I couldn't even come back from that, and I'm not fighting him. What am I supposed to say to that, Skip? We're a debate show. If you're going to sit there and tell me God will deliver Mayweather into
why
argue with that.
But why does it need to be fair? Because according to you, he'll win. He can handle all this in the ring.
No. We're talking about the narrative leading up to the fight. I'm just saying it's not right. I'm not saying that that's going to impact this fight. I'm saying that it's not right, because as we discuss this fight, how are we supposed to come back from that? If every other word is God, or every other thing is about Floyd and his transgressions and stuff like that, as opposed to this fight and how you're scared of us, we're going to come at you. Oh, Floyd could come back from that. What is he supposed to do? What is Leonard Ellaby or Al Heyman supposed to do when every other narrative is either about Floyd's transgressions outside of the ring, or how God will deliver him to me? What is he supposed to do with that?
Well, you can certainly feel free to argue that God doesn't pick winners of fights.
I'm saying to you, that's all I can say.
Okay,
that's all I can say.
But he's saying that's not good enough.
That's all I can say. They're changing the narrative into something else, and I think that's wrong. I think that's low ball. I really do.
Okay, to your point about Manny's transgressions, clearly he was no angel before his spiritual conversion that I brought up many times, which was about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? Since then, by all accounts, and you never know about this.
Not by all accounts.
Okay. Well, by everyone I talk to, he's authentic now.
Well,
he's real.
There are people that I talk to that say that's not true. So we don't know. Even now.
Okay.
So I don't know.
But we don't know. That's very clear.
And I don't care.
Yeah.
All I care about is the fight.
Is what you're trying to
That's all I care about.
Freddie Roach is clearly making this personal.
But you're saying those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
How about that? How about that?
What about that? That's a good debate.
How about that?
I think I read that somewhere.
You read it somewhere?
No, because if I had said that, Kerry, where would that? Because then I'm accusing him of something. I don't know if it's true or not.
No, I think that's a good point.
That would have been fair. That would have been unfair.
No, that's a good point, Stephen A. Okay, so personal and professional. Freddie Roach is doing a little bit of both here in this fight.
Final point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Senior has thrown some haymakers at their camp.
Yeah.
Remember, now Senior, early on, he scoffed at Pacquiao for being miniature. Remember all those quotes about, man, he's just too little to fight Floyd?
Yeah.
And then lately he said that I read the quote the other day, he hasn't looked at one tape of Manny Pacquiao because Manny is, to quote him, not on this level. Well, that's a boxing shot.
Boxing.
Yeah.
That's boxing.
Yeah.
And don't think for 1 second that all of that animosity, a lot of it anyway, being aimed in Floyd's direction, is because he and his team have changed the game. They've elevated it. They don't like that man in that position for the shots.
All they want is for
Ladies and gents,
Floyd to be thinking about this on a daily basis.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay.
Paul Pierce and the Wizards are in the postseason, and Pierce says he's in a better place than he was last season when he was with the Nets. He described his experience there as horrible and said the team had a bad attitude. Pierce had this to say to about Darren Williams. Before I got there, I looked at Darren as an MVP candidate, but I felt once we got there, that's not what he wanted to be. He just didn't want that. I think a lot of that pressure got to him sometimes. This was his first time in the national spotlight. The media in Utah is not the same as the media in New York, so that can wear on some people. I think it really affected him. Williams and the Nets squeezed into the postseason right after the Pacers lost to the Grizzlies. Williams responding to Pierce said the following: "Being here, I got pretty thick skin. He has his opinions, and that's fine. It's what it is. I can't change his opinions, so just leave it at that." So if we had to pick sides, Stephen A., whose side are you on?
Well, first of all, anybody with sense would be on Paul Pierce's side. Before I get into this, Skip, let me say that I've interviewed Darren Williams about, similar subjects in the past, not Paul Pierce's comments. But when Avery Johnson ended up leaving the Brooklyn Nets, there's no question that Avery Johnson believes that Darren Williams has something to do with that. Avery Johnson was not in favor of giving Darren Williams the max. He did not feel that he deserved it. But no one ever questions Darren Williams' talent. This brother can play the game of basketball, and when he brings his A game, he can be one of the top point guards in the game. The problem is we haven't seen his A game in years. It has been completely and utterly non-existent. I'm talking about his A game. There are spots when it may show up for a game or two or whatever, but by and large, to be kind, he has been a bust. And he has been a bust not because of his skills, not because of his abilities, but because of two reasons. Number one, Darren Williams doesn't want to be in Brooklyn. He doesn't want to be in that spotlight. He stayed there because they offered him the most money. That's number one, regardless of what he says. And number two, and just as important, he doesn't have the makeup to be a franchise player in a big market city. Darren Williams is a man. And I say that in a complimentary fashion from this respect. He ain't got time for nonsense. He is all about doing his job and then going home, being with his wife and kids. That's Darren Williams. He's that kind of guy from what I have been told. My point is that to be a franchise caliber player, you got to be a little something extra than that. You got to want it. You got to want greatness, not just for your team, but for yourself. It can't be where you're losing and you're struggling, but you've done your job. Give me my check and I will go home. And to some people, that is the impression that he has given. And a lot of people are of the mindset he's going to cost some folks their jobs. They don't know who. Could be Billy King. Was already Avery Johnson. Could be Lionel Hollins before all is said and done. The problem is the money that you gave him, the $98 million, nobody was willing to pay Darren Williams that amount of money. He could contribute on almost any team in the NBA because he's that gifted. The issue in question is, does he truly, truly want it? And he epitomizes, Skip, he truly epitomizes. And I know players hate to say this, but it's just the absolute truth. This is why you don't want max deals lasting 5, 6, 7 years. You want 3 at the most, or whatever the case may be, because then his tenure in Brooklyn would be over by now, and you could move forward. But they still owe him some significant chunks of change.
But you want players to get their money.
You want players to get their money. I'm just an advocate of getting it in as short a span as possible. That way it's not on your books, counting against your cap and inhibiting your ability to reload, retool, rebuild in the event that it doesn't work out. I have no problem with the cash players have. I have a problem with the length of the contract that you're committed to. I understand that it goes hand in hand to some degree, but it is what it is. That's just my position. Darren Williams doesn't want it. Darren Williams can play, but he's not a winner.
Wow, that's a strong statement.
Well, damn it, I said it.
Yes, you did.
It's the truth. And the reason why I'm saying it is because his record, his level of production, and his attitude about losing shows it. Because guess what? We should be hearing these quotes from Darren Williams about somebody else, not from somebody else about Darren Williams. But we've heard it. We heard it when Jerry Sloan left.
We did.
We heard it when Avery Johnson left.
Yep.
We heard it when P.J. Carlissimo left, even though P.J. didn't have much to do with that. And then we're hearing it now from former players. Damn it, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. It's a duck. It is what it is. That's what we're hearing. And he's not a loser. He's been in the playoffs, him and Carlos Boozer, and the success they had in Utah. But there is nothing about his resume that says he's a winner. And my last point will be this. Months earlier, having taken the Utah Jazz to the postseason, like 15 consecutive years, having coached there for over 22 years, Jerry Sloan signed a contract extension.
He did.
And a few months later said, I can't take this anymore, and quit. Jerry Sloan, who retired as third on the all-time wins list for coaches. This dude retired rather than stay there.
Mostly because?
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's no way to get around it. There's no way to get around it.
I'm with you. Okay, back to the question. I can't pick a side in this one for one reason. Paul Pierce is dead on right about Darren Williams for all the reasons you just said. I'm not sure Paul was right to say this, though. It serves to deflect a little blame off Paul and Kevin Garnett for what they weren't able to achieve last year with the Brooklyn Nets. So I don't love it that he said it. So when I'm trying to pick a side here, I'm having a hard time. But allow me to say, all the way back to when this show was based in New York and it was called Cold Pizza, I said again and again on the air, and I took a lot of flack for it, Darren Williams is overrated. And I meant overrated because he was being rated as an annual MVP candidate, to Paul's point. He wasn't an MVP candidate for all the reasons you so perfectly detailed. And dating back to his days in Utah, in his second year, they did get to the conference final, and they lost to my Spurs 4-1.
Yep.
No real shame there, but trust me, in that series, he didn't show up. He wasn't that guy, and the Spurs loved him going into his draft coming out of Illinois because he's like a coach's dream to watch.
He was picked 3rd overall ahead of CP3.
He was, because he had the whole game. He saw the floor. He was the combo guard. He is very talented.
He's very talented.
Okay, but intangibly, not so gifted. So all of a sudden, he winds up in Brooklyn on that stage, and he shrank on that stage. Now, to his credit, that first year in Brooklyn, he averaged 21 and 9. Those are all-star numbers.
Yeah.
But the team didn't rise with him. And then, to his credit, or in his defense, how many times has he been hurt since he's been a net?
He's one thing legitimately for him. The ankle.
Yeah.
He's had a bevy of injuries.
A bevy of injuries.
Yeah, no question. We can't fault him for that.
No, you can't.
Those are injuries.
Okay, but they don't love it. Look, there's a makeup question, and I love the point you made. It does seem to me, and I don't know him, but it does seem like he wants to go do his job, sort of in a 9-to-5 way, and when it's over, when practice is over, you go home. There's no deep commitment to, we got to get better, I got to have a one-on-one with somebody, I got to keep somebody after practice, I got to watch a little more tape. That's not this guy who's going to be your face of the franchise, who's making maximum dollars.
Here's where he's really, really lucky. He's in New York City. Because let me tell you something. He might as well be the San Antonio Spurs compared to the Knicks. That's how he lucked up. Because if there were, let's say, for example, if he were playing for the Knicks, they'd be all over him.
You know what? That's true. I agree with you.
They'd be all over him. We'd be all over him.
Yeah.
Please. But when you're in Brooklyn, I'm sorry, I don't want to call you irrelevant. The Barclays Center is a nice arena.
No, it's great.
You know, Jay-Z and them brought a lot of attention to it, but it ain't the Knicks, okay? And so that's how he's lucked up. The problem is that you're looking at Billy King a little bit differently now, my man, because Billy King, obviously, at the behest of Prokhorov, the owner, invested $98 million in him. Avery Johnson was somebody that, listen, he tried to schmooze, he tried to do everything with Darren Williams because that's what coaches have to do sometime in to dealing with today's modern-day player. But in the end, Darren Williams is, basketball is almost like, it appears like a business. Kevin Durant is a guy, he'll go anywhere and play. Russell Westbrook gives you the impression he'll go anywhere and play. Kobe, all of them. LeBron, everything. They give you the impression they'll go anywhere to play. Darren Williams literally gives the impression it's almost like playing basketball is the equivalent of punching a clock.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I know this because I don't know him.
Right, but
I'm saying it gives you the impression it's like punching a clock. Yeah, I got to go do this. All right, babe. Hey, this pays the bills. He goes home. You don't win that way. That's not what winners are made of.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
After tearing his ACL last season, many have wondered where Todd Gurley will land in the NFL draft. Well, Nate Davis of USA Today Sports thinks highly of the former Georgia running back in his latest mock draft, predicting the Jets will take Gurley at 6 overall. Our own Mel Kiper, however, didn't even have Gurley going in the first round of his first 3 mocks. His latest, he has him going 19th overall to the Browns. Todd McShay adding that it's completely feasible seeing Gurley perhaps going to the Jets with the 6th pick. Skip Bayless.
Wow.
Are you surprised that he's rising so quickly?
I am unpleasantly not surprised. I know that's a double negative, but I've brought him up, and you won't remember this, but I brought up the name Todd Gurley at least a couple of times on this show because I thought my Dallas Cowboys would be sitting pretty down at the bottom of the first round with Todd Gurley as a plan B if they could not land Adrian Peterson, which is still a bit of a long shot because obviously rights are owned by the Minnesota Vikings. They continue to say we're going to keep him. They owe him about $13 million next year. Will they really keep him? We'll see as it counts down toward draft day. I still wonder if Jerry Jones could trade that late first-round pick straight up for the rights to then negotiate or renegotiate with Adrian Peterson to take a home state discount to play for my Dallas Cowboys to finish out his career. Maybe that won't work, and so I kept thinking, boy, Todd Gurley would be a great plan B. I love Todd Gurley, and I've said that even during the football season. All I needed to watch was opening day. It was late August when they played Clemson on national TV. Todd Gurley tore up a defense that wound up ranked #1 overall in the nation, the Clemson defense. He went 15 carries for 198 yards that day, and he ran a kickoff back 100 yards for a touchdown. And I said, what is not to like? He'd been a little beat up in his previous year in 2013, and then right on cue, of course, he tears his ACL against Auburn, was lost for the rest of the year. He had the suspension over the merchandising that we talked about a lot on the show. Yeah, whatever. That's irrelevant to this.
That's irrelevant to that.
Okay, thank you very much for that. But I was seeing a little Adrian Peterson in Todd Gurley. Now, the draft reports I read compare him more to Marshawn Lynch. I don't really see that. We're talking about 6'1", 222. He's built more like Adrian is built, and he runs more like Adrian, and he did run for the Georgia track team. That's what kind of elite speed he has. He's probably in the 4.40 range. He's coming off the ACL now, so that's a big question mark. But by what I read, and you don't know what you can trust, he's right on schedule to be back. So when I read Nate Davis having him go all the way up at 6, even though running backs, as we keep talking about, have been devalued in the first round of the draft, dime a dozen, get one in the second, get one in the third round. Listen, Todd Gurley is special to me. He leaped off my TV screen that day and other days that I watched him in the previous year against LSU, for instance. So to me, if I'm the Jets, and I do have a shot, obviously we have quarterback issues with your Jets, but man, Todd Gurley is special enough to be a top 5 pick in this draft.
Listen, I like Todd Gurley. I really, really do. And I watched him against Auburn. I watched him in that game, 198 yards against Clemson. He was spectacular. I get all of that. I do understand it. I'm thinking about the Jets. I think 2 priorities before I think about the running back position. I think quarterback, and I think an end rusher.
Sure.
Defensive end. That's what I think about. I'm sorry. You got Sheldon Richardson. You got Muhammad Wilkerson. I get all of that. You got David Harris in your secondary. You got Screen. You got Cromartie. You got Revis. You see the crew that you have. I get all of that. I don't trust Gurley because I think he runs a bit too upright.
You could be right.
He has the one ACL injury. Mm-hmm. And I'm fearful that if you spend that high of a pick on Todd Gurley, he'll get hurt within the first 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not wishing that on him. I like him. He's got a lot of skill. But I think that when you talk about a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, it's got to be 2 things. Number 1, a sure thing talent-wise, which I know he has. 3 things. A sure thing talent-wise, at least an upside in the durability category. And it's got to be a primary need. When I think about the Jets, I know that Chris Ivory and Bilal Powell don't knock your socks off or whatever. But at the same time, Bilal Powell especially, but at the same time, they're not scrubs.
Nope, they're not. Neither one of them. I agree with that.
And they're not the problem. When you think about the Jets and what they're lacking, you didn't have Brandon Marshall. Eric Decker was your number one receiver, for crying out loud. Okay? And obviously Geno Smith was your quarterback. And now you got Ryan Fitzpatrick back there. But you still need to upgrade at the quarterback position. So I'm just looking at it and I'm like, Bryce Petty? Not that you go that high.
No, he wouldn't go that high.
You know, but the Mariotas of the world, could you move up to get them? If not a Jameis Winston, if indeed Tampa is stupid enough to pass up on him as the number one overall pick, you got to give me something.
Okay.
You're the New York
What
Jets
happened
with your
all last
history.
football season when I kept pushing Tony Romo for regular season MVP, and you kept telling me DeMarco's the regular season MVP because of what he did for Tony and for Des Bryant, right?
Right.
This kid, if healthy, could do the same thing for Geno or whoever's going to play. I don't know who's going to play quarterback.
All right.
And you got Brandon Marshall now. All of a sudden, it changes your life if he does what DeMarco did for Dallas last year.
I have more faith in DeMarco because he had been in the league. I know he had been hurt before, but he had already been in the league. You know, and I didn't anticipate that the Dallas Cowboys would give it 392 carries, which is ridiculous, and 450 touches.
It
running
works.
them into the ground so they could save Tony Romo. That's what they did. They sat there and threw away DeMarco Murray to save Tony Romo. Todd Gurley, I don't know if he is capable of handling that kind of load, at least not yet. I need to see him get a lower center of gravity, not run so high, not expose himself so easily, and I need to see how he's going to overcome that ACL. If it wasn't for the ACL injury, he'd be one of the top 3 guys
Okay,
on the books.
I'll remind you, I watched every snap Adrian Peterson took in college at the University of Oklahoma.
Similar.
He got nicked and knacked. He was always beat up. He had a shoulder, and he had all kinds of stuff going on. They run the same way. Adrian runs pretty high, too. And Adrian will try to run over your behind if you get in his way.
Like I said, I don't know. I'm not saying I know. I'm just going on what I've seen. But I like Gurley a lot.
You look at if he's
Don't know.
healthy. He has a medical check. It's scheduled to take place Saturday. Results are expected this weekend. Again, Todd McShay saying if they're positive, he could totally see him rising in the draft. One day after Floyd Mayweather held a public workout at his gym in Vegas, Manny Pacquiao held his own workout at his Wildcard Boxing Club yesterday. Manny had some very interesting comments about the fight and Floyd. He told USA Today Sports, "I just want to send this message to him, nothing personal. We're just doing our jobs. And after the fight, if I could talk to him, I want to share the gospel of God. I want to share to him about God, why we need God." All right, again, I want to share the gospel of God. I want to share to him about God and why we need God. Skip, your reaction to Pacquiao's comments.
I must admit, just on purely a fight level, I'm concerned about these comments as it pertains to Manny winning this fight. Just for some viewers who might not know, forgive me for getting a little biblical here, but we have to put this in the proper context. Manny Pacquiao is an evangelical Christian. He believes in the Bible's New Testament, in which Jesus instructed his disciples to be fishers of men, to spread God's word to all who would hear, to spread it to anyone on any level, even the people who hate you, even your opponents. So in this case, I'm having a little hard time reconciling Manny's mandate here, which is I'm going to knock out Floyd Mayweather Jr., then I'm going to save his soul. That's a little hard for me, even, and I'm a Christian myself. I brought it up to you many times, and at first you were scoffing at me for even bringing this up. Do you remember this? At first you just laughed at me. But I told you I was concerned because I don't know if you can participate in the brutal sport that boxing can be. Even though Floyd is a technician, a master, a craftsman in the ring, I'm not sure that Floyd can inflict that much punishment on his opponent. But be that as it may, this is still a brutal game that they are playing, a brutal competition. And I've not been certain for the last 5 years in the previous fights, including the Marquez fight, which you so quickly point out, he face planted in. I'm not sure nor has Freddie Roach been sure that Manny's heart was in the sport of boxing in those fights, because it's called a fight for a reason. And if your heart's not in it, if you are pulling punches, if you do not want to put away your opponent, you're obviously always in danger of losing the fight. So Freddie Roach does not love this. He doesn't love Manny saying, gee, I want to beat him, but then I want to quickly sit down with him and talk about what God can mean in Floyd's life. It's just tricky for me to reconcile, because we're keeping it on a level when we debate this on a daily basis. When we go to Las Vegas, we're talking about the competition that is boxing. So I'm accepting it for what it is. And obviously, I believe that Manny is better than Floyd. I believe Manny can win this fight. But you can't win the fight if your heart's not in the fight, if you are pulling punches. Maybe he gets Floyd in a little bit of trouble in the 5th or 6th round, and he thinks, I got to back off. I got to let him recover a little bit here. Then let's get back to boxing again. That's not how you win these mega fights. You put the man away when it's time to put him away. And I'm not sure that squares with Manny's religious view at this moment. So I'm a little concerned by it, to be honest with you. Is that fair?
So let me get this straight. After weeks of sitting here, talking about how Floyd was running, talking about how much Manny wanted him, because Manny thinks that it's not just on the mission of beating Floyd Mayweather, it's about cleaning up the sport of boxing. After Freddie Roach, literally just minutes ago, we just finished talking. I think did you introduce that topic? Minutes ago, you just finished. Now here
and
we are.
Those, by the way, were not exactly Christian remarks from Freddie Roach.
Okay. After all of that, now we're supposed to sit here and absorb the fact that an immediate transformation is taking place, where Skip Bayless is now concerned that Pacquiao,
I've voiced my concern in the past.
That Pacquiao might lay off of Floyd. I'm not talking, forget Marquez and all those other guys. Floyd. That Manny Pacquiao could ultimately get Floyd in trouble and then say, I didn't want to hurt him. Really? That's what we're talking about here? Can we stop this? Can we stop it? Please. The bottom line is...
Am I not supposed to be honest on this show?
You are honest.
Am I objective?
No.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not challenging that. I'm saying to you that never before have your comments along those lines related to Floyd. It related to Manny over the last 5 years, but not Floyd, because even you kept saying, he wants Floyd. This guy right here, he's after. He's been waiting for this. He wasn't enthused. He's running for office. He's,
wait. Did you hear the quote last night? It's not personal, said Manny Pacquiao.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying to you, all of a sudden you're concerned now? You've been bloviating for weeks about Floyd.
I haven't been bloviating. I've been telling the truth about it.
All right, you've been telling the truth about Manny wanting Floyd. So you're saying
this was a switch.
So now you're concerned that there's a switch. Now that you're concerned there's a switch. Because see, here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing Skip Bayless sit back and go like this. I don't know now. Maybe if Floyd ends up winning this fight, this will be the reason why. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Now, when Manny sits there and says, God will deliver him into my hands or my fist. Gary Champion, do you hear me backing up about how Floyd's going to take him? You understand? Listen, supposedly they're trying to convince us that they have divine intervention on their side, that God somehow favors Manny over Floyd, even though we're all God's children. Oh, no. Floyd's a little bit different. It's about Manny. So now I'm supposed to sit here and believe that somehow, some way, there's a conversion that's taking place. Manny might actually lay off. No, Skip, I'm going to stick to what Manny and Freddie Roach has been telling us. As far as I'm concerned, this is probably just a ploy trying to soften Floyd up so Floyd won't be prepared so you can possibly catch him sleeping. That's how I'm going to take it. I'm going to take every vile, despicable, or derogatory word that Manny Pacquiao and Freddie Roach has thrown in my direction, and I'm going to hold on to it for dear life when it comes May 2nd. Like I told you, when everybody was sitting there looking at Floyd and talking about, well, you know what, Floyd is sitting there, he seems a bit reserved. Doesn't seem like himself. Seems a bit cautious. I said he was looking at Manny Pacquiao. You realize what the hell you got yourself into talking about me like this? You done asked for this. That's what I'm going to hold on to. I'm going to hold on to that belief, because if I sit there and buy into what you're trying to sell me right now, where you're concerned that Manny Pacquiao may have converted just a little bit, I might as well not show up to Vegas. I can't believe it. I can't deal with it.
Don't.
I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it.
I'll do the show by myself.
I can't deal with it. If Manny Pacquiao is sitting there and you're telling me that Manny Pacquiao could get Floyd hurt and that he might lay off because I really don't want to hurt him. I just he's one of God's children. I don't want to do this. If that's the case, I might as well not go to Vegas. I might as well not go. Because I'm going because Manny been yipping and yapping, making commercials, talking Foot Locker. Oh, he's going to fight me. He's going to fight me. Mocking Floyd. Freddie Roach has been talking smack. Floyd has accepted the challenge now. If you hey, that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm going to Vegas for. That's what I'm going to Vegas for. Don't give me all this now.
What have I been telling you for months? I've been honest and forthright about this. It's my only concern. What did Freddie Roach tell me about 2 months ago? And I wrote it for ESPN.com. Freddie Roach has one concern and only one concern. Has Manny become a little too spiritual for the sport of boxing? Now, that's a big question.
I have to correct you based on what you said. Skip Bayless, you did at no time did you express it being of concern of yours about Pacquiao with Mayweather? Freddie Roach, you echoed that Freddie Roach may have had that concern. You yourself said, I'm not concerned about it at all because this is the one fight he's wanted. You said that.
I have.
So, all right then.
These quotes shook me up when I read them last night. I said, really? It's not personal? And you're going to try to sit down with him? He's talking about like the night of the fight. Let's sit down and let me tell you what God can mean in your life.
After the fight.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, after the fight. So what I told you is, I'm not sure I can reconcile the mindset of I'm going to knock this man out and then save his soul. I'm not sure it works like that. I don't know if your heart's going to be completely in the competition.
Manny Pacquiao is full of it because anybody knows if you end up losing a fight, particularly a mega fight, nobody want to sit there with you getting a lecture about spirituality after you just lost. Floyd ain't gonna try to be. Manny Pacquiao wasn't willing to hear that when he lost to Marquez. Oh, I'm sorry, he was asleep.
He was
playing chess after the fight.
He wasn't available to be talked to. Okay.
All right.
10 minutes later.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good point because I don't really get it.
He's saying
if you get
knocked out, Floyd.
Well, that's not how Manny thinks. That's not an evangelical Christian's mindset. He would be the first to do it.
Saying the night of the fight.
Yeah, he'd do it the night of.
You think somebody's going to be willing to talk to you after? If some miracle happened, and it ain't, and Floyd got knocked out, you think Floyd's going to be in the mood to talk to Manny Pacquiao the night of the fight?
Manny would try. That's who he is.
My Lord.
Are you saying he's not an authentic Christian?
No, I'm saying that you're going a little bit too far with it.
Well, then you don't get it. Then you don't get it.
Skip, I do get it.
This is who this guy is. This is real.
So nobody's questioning his Christianity, his love for God. I'm saying to you, Skip, the issue is I'm not questioning that. Does that mean that he would talk to the man the night of the fight?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I don't believe that.
He would try.
How do you know that?
I just know evangelical Christians. I was raised with them. I know how they are. I know their mindset. Yeah.
Even a fighter?
Absolutely a fighter. He would put his arm around him and say, let's talk. If Floyd would sit with him that night, even if he knocked Floyd out. I've been trying to tell you this for the last 10 minutes. This is what it is. It's why I described it before we did this discussion. I tried to get it through your head.
You tried to set the table.
You should call your minister and ask him, what do you think about this? And he'll tell you the very same thing.
Pastor A.R. Bernard, Christian coach. I will call him today.
He's probably watching.
I will call him today.
Call him and ask him if Manny wouldn't try to save him after the fight. He would try.
MVP candidate James Harden posted his fourth triple-double of the season last night as the Rockets clinched the 2 seed in the West. Houston will face in-state rival Dallas in their first-round matchup Saturday. Harden has played well in his 4 meetings with the Mavs, scoring nearly 25 points per game with 6 assists and 6 rebounds. By the way, Houston won 3 of the 4 matchups. So how much pressure, Stephen A., do you believe is on James Harden?
Well, I think the pressure's on James Harden in terms of his ability to show up. He is an MVP candidate. I'm not going to lie to you, Skip. I felt sick to my stomach. I almost called you last night to tell you I changed my mind, and I didn't. But I almost called you to tell you I changed my mind on the MVP vote because it's that close to me.
Wow.
And
they wound up the 2 seed.
For me, having the number 2 seed, doing what he's done with the roster he's had to work with, I almost feel guilty even thinking about giving it to somebody else. I almost want to do co-MVPs with Steph Curry and him. Well, having said all of that, he's got to show up in the postseason. You know, the one issue and the only issue I've ever had with James Harden was that he was MIA against Miami in that NBA Finals when he was hesitant to even shoot the ball. He's just too gifted for that. Last year against Portland, he had a couple of good games, but for the most part, he struggled. He was relatively inconsistent. Going up against Wes Matthews, Damian Lillard, and those boys, they're no joke. No. We understand that. And the only reason why nobody's picking Portland to go far this year is because Matthews is out, and they just seem to be a piece away from it all. Because Portland, Damian Lillard's he's a baller, no question. With that being said, James Harden has got to perform. You know, there's two levels of stardom to me in basketball, Skip. It's making sure you win, obviously, particularly during the regular season, that you show up in the postseason. But more importantly, that if and when you lose, it ain't because of you. In other words, whatever you did in the regular season, you need to make sure you do in the postseason. So I'm going to look at James Harden, averaging 27, shooting 44% from the field. I expect similar numbers come postseason time. You do that, and you know, you show up and it's crunch time, the balls, then I'm not going to hold that against you. But if you don't do that, I will. And I think that the pressure's on him just to be who he's been. But it may not be enough against the Dallas Mavericks. Because remember, you got Dwight Howard, Josh Smith, and Terrence Jones. And you got three guys that you can hack a shack. Employ the hack a shack against. That may very well cost Houston in this series.
What's your gut? Who wins?
My gut is Dallas.
Mine is too. But I think you just said that you're going to set James Harden's bar much higher than you're going to set CP3's, because CP3 is more of a pure point guard. James Harden is 6 feet 5 inches tall.
Right. And a scoring
machine. And he's a scoring machine.
That's right.
So you're saying you're expecting him, because of his role, to perform at a higher level scoring the basketball.
Right. I'm not saying like if Dwight Howard and others don't show up to the situation, that's not your fault.
Okay.
But in the past, we've been able to look at James Harden and say, well, man, you didn't do what we're accustomed to seeing you do. He needs to be consistent with his game.
Okay. Dallas is the wild card in these playoffs because Monte Ellis is the wildest card on the floor. Listen, this man can explode in ways sometimes James Harden can't explode. He can't. Hey, listen, some nights he'll do it to San Antonio where you say, that is unstoppable stuff. If he does that a couple times in this series, and I think he will, I'm going to go Dallas in 6 in this series. No disrespect to James Harden and all that he accomplished, because I agree with you. It's a close call on the MVP.
I agree with you about Dallas in 6 as well. Go ahead.
All right, gentlemen, let's leave it there. So Shaq just tweeted the show, and he asked you gentlemen, what do you think the real criteria is for becoming the NBA MVP? I asked you, do you know who he thinks the MVP should be?
I have no clue.
He said he's being slick.
Well, listen, Shaq has been difficult to find these days. By the way, his suits need to be upgraded. And I'm very, very surprised that he would be tweeting this show because he's usually still asleep. So I don't even understand why he even tweeted about us. But since you need the education, bro, let me break it down.
Oh, gosh.
James Harden, obviously, that's a form of an MVP because he literally carried the team on his back. But the other thing is about being the best player on the best team and exercising and employing a level of consistency that simply can't be disputed. The combination of those things is why it's been nip and tuck with Steph Curry and James Harden, even more so than LeBron, which I think LeBron is in the conversation, but I give those two the edge over him. That would be an answer to my question. I know why Shaq asked these questions. He didn't think he's slick, Skip. He asked because he still hasn't gotten over the fact that Steve Nash got one of his MVPs. You know what? And he should be upset about it.
It was robbery.
It was robbery. Shaq you deserved the MVP that year, big boy. You deserved the MVP, Shaq. You're satisfied. We said it. We said it.
That's what that's about.
You're talking so loudly, I can't hear how much time is left in the show.
She said 3 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
There's 3 minutes left in the show?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. We're good. I thought you'd talk the whole show off
No, he has not.
Actually, I'm not talking to Delina. Talks very low. Steven.
She's like Manny Pacquiao.
Be nice.
Okay. Hold on. We love Delina now.
We do.
Come on now. Come on now.
She's the best.
She's the one.
Go on.
Okay, I agree with you. It's usually best player on best team. It's which player made his team better. Well, you can argue that Harden made. I don't argue that. I think Steph made his team even better than James made his team, because Steph's team is winning the West. I didn't even look what it is at the final analysis. What is it, 10.5 or 11? 10.5? 13.5 games in the West? That's astonishing to me. And I gave you the figure yesterday that when Steph was on the court, they outscored the opponents 16.5 points per 100 possessions. That's ridiculous. When he's on the bench, it's 0.6 more that they outscored. So I'm sorry.
Okay, so wait, time out. Shaq responded. He had something specifically to say to you.
Oh, Lord.
He says, Stephen A., you're right, I was asleep. Then I heard your big mouth yelling. I had a big mouth yelling.
You woke him up.
He said, let my main man skip talk, and your tie doesn't match your jacket while you're talking trash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's a low blow.
That is a low blow. He's getting on me today. Shaq's suits are slipping.
Oh, bye-bye.
He thinks that he's GQ, but it's not. The wardrobe is slipping. I mean, Jerome, Uncle Jerome, somebody tell him. Okay. Somebody tell him.
In March, Shaq said Steph Curry was his MVP.
Okay.
In March, he said that. So he's not being too slick.
You know, when I tune into TNT, I do only for Shaq. That's all,
I will say
he's the reason I watch TNT.
Shaq and the Fool. Have you watched him when he's making fun of these guys, Shaq and the Fool? That stuff with Otto Porter, when he just freezes. Oh my Lord, it's straight comedy. That is the play of the year to me.
So he said, let his main man talk. And
I don't have to listen to Shaq.
You ain't got to
listen, Shaq, stay on TNT. This is ESPN, baby.
I should use Shaq's method when he does this. The camera. I should just check you out.
Yeah. When you want him to talk.
I told Kobe. I told Phil. Phil know how I play.
Okay.
Kobe know how I play. Give me the ball. I'm going to dunk it.
Shaq is an all-star.
Harry Spears.
Laker through and through.
What I'm talking about.
Shaq, what a pleasure. Thank you for
coming. Oh, don't tell him it's a pleasure.
It is
Get
a pleasure.
him. Get up. Get dressed. It's noon.
It's not.
It's noon.
Put on those suits. I love you suits.
Put them on. It could be 9 a.m. Thanks for listening to the podcast. And don't forget, you can catch us on the road for Fight Week in Las Vegas, April 29th through May 1st. We're live with special guests at the MGM Grand Pool Complex. Doors open at 5:30 a.m. local time. It's free. Come out and join us.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
You're home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.